Welcome everybody to our first episode of Real Talk. And for our first episode, we are blessed to have Pierre Singfield, one of my friends here. Pierre, tell everybody about yourself, what you do for a living, anything you want to share about yourself.
What's going on? I appreciate you bringing me on, Charles. This is a great deal here. Came out to Arizona, played football at Arizona State. Had the opportunity to play at the next level for Houston, Texas, and in Canada for a little bit. I'm of course retired from the game. Now just involved in, of course, the youth. Extremely involved in high school football. Did some college coaching as well. But my overall goal and focus is, of course, to mentor the youth, young adults. So that's kind of where my identity lies and kind of what my focus is.
Yeah, and I met Pierre at Arizona State. Again, glad to call him my friend. Knew Pierre for almost like 10 years now, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, time flies, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. But no, I think right now, just wanted to talk to everybody about Real Talk. Again, this is where I have people on the show. We're just having a regular conversation. We'll bring up some topics of interest, some topics that are important at this moment. Obviously, we will we will talk about the George Floyd incident and get both of our opinions on that, as well as maybe some incidents or some experiences that we had with law enforcement. Again, this is not a negative podcast to where we're going to bash on, law enforcement. Obviously, there's good and bad from from both sides, but we just want to give our take on it. For
sure.
Obviously, let's go ahead and jump into it, Pierre. George Floyd, what was your take from the video? Were you able to see the video?
Actually, I just finally had a chance to watch the video fully. Actually, last night. I think, of course, I seen it when it came out. And it most definitely hit me hard for the simple fact watching another black man die, not at the hands of someone that says to protect and serve, and then on top of that having it, of course, have him die on TV or through social media, and being able to see that is something that I don't deal well with. So that's the reason why I struggle so bad necessarily watching it initially. And then my wife had some new footage on kind of some things that they've discovered, and she showed me yesterday. So I seen the tail end of it. Of course, it was heartbreaking. Most definitely, prayers go out to his family and his daughter, his 6-year-old daughter. For sure, George has changed the world.
Definitely, and I think for a lot of people, this is like the breaking point for them. Yeah. For me, I was angry for a different reason. I'm similar to you. I didn't want to watch the video as soon as it came out because those videos make me upset. The reason why I was angry is because when these videos come out, I could start feeling myself get less and less sensitive over the videos. Yeah. And I don't know why that's happening. It's because we see it so much.
For sure, right? You look at, I believe it's 490, something black men or black African Americans that have died by the hands of police, through a short time span. You start becoming, it becoming normal, right?
Yeah.
When you
don't want
see
it to
happen, right? But we naturally, that happens, so we become normalized to it. And of course, it's horrible. Yeah. But that's exactly what happened. I think this one was a little bit different from the simple fact, you hear in the video calling out for his mom, that really hit home, because naturally, I'm a mama's boy, right? I'm really close to my mom. I pictured myself doing the same thing, and I'm a tough guy. I'm not a soft dude, but when you're at that point where man, who's going to save me? You naturally call out either, in my case, Jesus or your mom, right? Who's you going to call? So it most definitely hit me pretty hard.
Yeah, definitely. And one example I wanted to give, as far as where my breaking point was at, I know we talked about it this weekend when we ran, was Tatiana Jefferson, who was in her home in Dallas, Fort Worth, playing video games with her nephew at the time. The neighbor seen that their front door was open, and they actually called the non-emergency line. So they were just they were legitimately, just trying to figure out if their neighbor is okay. It wasn't an emergency line or anything like that. It was the police officer that came in kind of, gun already at hand, shooting through a window. I mean, that for me is like, okay, even if you don't get into a situation where you get pulled over by law enforcement, police, in your own home, like not even answering the door, you just getting shot through a window.
Come on. Like you signed up for a job that you know's dangerous, and you're that scared or sensitive to the fact that you might have to arrive at an African American's home and it might go down. So you go in guns blazing like that. That just baffles me and blows my mind that happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of questions with that situation specifically as far as, what's the demographic of that area? Why did the cop go in guns blazing? Did the cop know whoever's house it was African Americans? This is a house they've been to before. I don't know all that information, but it just happened to be a black woman in her own house getting killed in front of her nephew. Yeah. I mean, imagine the nephew's, obviously now he's traumatized for the rest of his life to witness something like that. But getting back to George Floyd, obviously a lot of athletes are getting more vocal right now. I don't know if you've seen what Drew Brees said recently today, but he right now he has his own teammates calling him out because he referenced Colin Kaepernick. Let me paraphrase, trying to figure out why that he didn't understand why that was okay. He still doesn't understand. Man. So you have LeBron calling him out. Malcolm Jenkins, his new former but new teammate, is calling him out. And he just got back into New Orleans. He's calling out the quarterback, Drew Brees. So for those of you guys that haven't seen it, make sure you guys pull that up. I could pull up the quote here if you want me to. But.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But I mean, that's good, right? I mean, no matter who you are, regardless if you're, the face of the NFL or Hall of Famer. I mean, at the end of the day, wrong is wrong, right is right. And to be able to acknowledge that silence is no longer accepted, or the ability to say, I don't understand, when it's clear as day that we have an issue. It's cool because now we're holding people accountable, right? We're holding people accountable to what expectation we're setting as a people. And it's pretty cool because you're not just seeing African Americans setting these expectations. You're now seeing it, from multiple races.
Yeah, definitely. And so I have Drew Brees' comment actually right here. And again, I was trying to summarize it. But anyways, quote for quote, he said, "Never agree with anyone disrespecting the flag of the United States of America." And he was speaking directly towards, the kneeling of Colin Kaepernick. And obviously, again, LeBron James, other stars in multiple sports, didn't care who it was. Yeah. Hall of Fame quarterback, it's hard to find even 5 quarterbacks in NFL history that are more accomplished than Drew Brees. Yeah. It doesn't matter, right? So Drew Brees, again, I think he's misinformed because Colin Kaepernick, when he took the knee, obviously he said, hey, I'm doing this for obviously the interaction between black and law enforcement. Yeah. He was very specific with why he was doing it. Not to mention, a lot of people miss the fact that they're like, oh, why is he kneeling during the national anthem? Colin Kaepernick was initially sitting, and it was, I believe, a former Marine that was telling him, hey, it's more respectful to take a knee. So people are missing that. No one's saying anything about the Marine who told him to do it.
The whole taking a knee kind of blew my mind because somehow we turned it into something as being disrespectful. But last time I checked, you take a knee when you pray. Like you get on your knees when you pray, right? That's a sign of respect, right? You're completely in a state of vulnerability, right? Submission. I can't attack you when I'm on my knees like that, right? So you're vulnerable here. This is the world, or this is an African American saying, hey, we are vulnerable in a position that is causing us to be killed in the streets, and I need your help. So I am showing you that I am vulnerable and submitting myself towards a cause.
And trying to bring attention to the cause. Yeah. Again, the Marine also mentioned you taking a knee when you're asking for your wife's hand or your girlfriend at the time's hand in marriage. So again, that whole fact kind of gets passed along the media. Media doesn't capture that.
It's the narrative.
Yeah,
man.
it's the narrative.
They're controlling. They're trying to control the narrative in
Yeah.
the direction they want it to go.
Which brings up the next point, which you kind of alluded to right now, is our lack of black corporate media. Mm-hmm. So right now, when something like that happens, again, the way that the word spreads when Colin Kaepernick's trying to bring attention to somebody is the media has to push it out. The media is controlling the narrative and saying, hey, after Trump did the tweet, he's disrespecting the flag. Now the whole narrative of why he's taking a knee has been changed, and now everything is all mixed up. No one knows exactly why the knee is happening, but obviously if they listen to the news, hey, he's just disrespecting the flag.
Yeah.
So
now everybody hate Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. Like, until of course the Niners kicked him. He got rid of him. But
so Kaepernick, again, I don't know this whole situation, but I know that he could have opted in to stay another year. He opted out.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a mistake. Obviously, if he didn't opt out, he probably would have got cut.
Agreed.
But obviously, there's other situations where no one said anything. Like Marshawn Lynch has said he's never stood up for the flag. They actually have a video of him sitting on a cooler on the bench eating a banana.
Hey, you just got guys, man, it's gonna do them. And naturally, Marshawn is not looking. He really doesn't care what people think.
Yeah.
Right. You just got that guy that's just like, hey, it is what it is. But that's acceptable because it's Marshawn Lynch. No one's saying anything about Marshawn Lynch for doing that because we know freaking Marshawn Lynch is crazy.
Yeah, that and plus it was before Kaepernick was actually taking a knee. So again, maybe if it was brought up in the media, people would have, been more outraged at that point. But, after the fact, everybody was kind of like, oh, well, it's Marshawn Lynch. He's going to do what he has to do. But anyways, going back to the point with black-owned media, like corporate media, do you think that would help as far as, protests and things like that? Because, again, right now for the George Floyd thing or situation, looting, rioting is the main focus of what is being talked about the black community when that's just a minority of the actual movement.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing because literally yesterday they had every church in America, in Arizona, not just black churches, but every church in Arizona literally united in downtown Phoenix last night to pray for what's going on or to pray for people that are dealing with whatever they may be dealing with. Because we got not just a riot or a race deal going on in America, but we got a pandemic going on. There's a lot of things. So people don't have their jobs. Several variables, but there are several different cultures and races united together downtown for one common goal, and that's to give people support that they need. But that wasn't, of course, broadcasted like the looting and rioting and people breaking into the Apple store in Scottsdale. So do I think having more African Americans in the media mainstream, of course it helps to close that gap, right?
Definitely.
Give individuals the power to be able to control the narrative or things like that. I most definitely think it would help, but I think educating individuals on which direction to go is most definitely important.
That too. I mean, we need to find some type of unity, some solidarity within the movement. Yeah. But obviously, again, in every movement, it doesn't matter what movement it is or what race of that makes up that movement. There's going to be a small group of people that go outside of the messaging.
Yeah.
To take advantage of the situation. Mm-hmm. Not to say that it's only black people in this movement. There's, like you said, there's people of every race that are, showing up and showing support.
Dude, they did a piece over in New Zealand. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen the one in London.
You see the one in London? There's one in New Zealand. And New Zealand, of course, is part of, Polynesian culture. Mm-hmm. And they did their chant. And at the end, they all yell out Black Lives Matter, praying for George Floyd. Like, that's in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
That's way across, the world. And it's impacted them.
Because when you see a video like that, I think unless you're like have no emotion whatsoever, you could tell like something is wrong there.
Yeah.
And I think this is the strongest reaction I've seen to something like this. which is good because now it's starting to get more traction. Again,
Yeah.
I've seen, again, you know me, I work with a lot of the athletes in the area in Arizona. I see parents of those kids, affluent white neighborhoods posting that stuff too,
Yeah.
like in support. I'm shocked, but it's happening.
It's good, man. I mean, I love all people. I have friends of all races. I mean, dude, I'm in no kind of way. Don't get it twisted. I'm not, of course, racist any kind of way, but I'm focusing in on the issue, right? If we got 10 houses and one house is on fire, you don't worry about the other 9 houses. You're about the house is on fire. So that's what we're focusing in on, right? And to be able to see people being educated that we have an issue and talking about it in their household, right? Because it's cool to talk about it with my friend that's, say, black.
Yeah.
But then when I go home or I'm around my cousins, are we talking about, social injustice, or are we talking about what's really the issue?
Or are we talking about solutions?
Yeah, that's huge, right?
Yeah, the solutions part is big because, we could focus on the negative, what has happened, but what are we going to do going forward? And I know we talked about this again, going back to this past weekend, was what are, obviously we can't come up with a solution here, but we could have some ideas as to what the solution might look like. So for me, it would be just getting people more educated on voting.
Oh yeah.
In your local election is just as important as the general election.
I mean, it's gonna hit you more, right? I mean, you look at the local aspect, and I most definitely am not well versed. I'll tell you the truth straight up. I can improve in that area, and I'm going to improve in that area. But starting with your local, area, voting for the people that you elect, to be in office or to elect officials, right? That's huge, right?
Yeah, because these elected officials have the opportunity to appoint certain people, like a police chief.
Yeah,
they're appointed in some counties. So that would definitely help. And again, to your point, I've spent 28 years like not caring about politics. And this is not going to be a political podcast. I just want to. This is just a rant. But I spent 28 years basically not caring about politics, saying, okay, well, it doesn't affect me, right? I'm not going to vote. Who cares? But no, I've kind of like started to do some research and notice, okay, well, maybe I hold a little bit more power than I'm giving myself.
Agree.
So, but yeah, what would you think as far as like solutions or ideas of things that, we could probably put in place for this?
Well, I think for one, of course, educating individuals on what you can do to make a change, right? And that, of course, voting is huge, right? Understanding what your rights are is huge, right? These are things that just starts off with educating. So getting people in place to pretty much do that for our youth, right? Knowing that they have a voice and they can make a change if they step up to the cause. So a lot of times we talk about it, but when we start putting things in place, like, for example, tomorrow we're supposed to do something with the youth on the direction that we want to go for the year, right? Because this can die down, right? And right now, while we have a lot of people on it, let's get going, right? Me personally, I'm like, dude, I need to do something.
Yeah.
So being able to educate youth on what they can do, like, for example, how do I vote? How do I go about voting? Who am I voting for? And how would this overall impact me? Is where you start, right? And then standing up for what's right and standing up for what's wrong. Like if it's wrong, like, I'm gonna call you out for it.
Yeah,
and that's what they doing. Yeah. That's what they doing now. Like the millennials or the youth, man. They like, hey, I don't know what mom did. I don't know what my grandma did. That was cool and all, but like, hey, I got a voice. Like I'm on freaking
social media. It counts as a voice, and that makes sense. I think seeing our generation kind of go out there and I've heard conversation of, oh, well, they're young. How, why are they acting like this? They haven't, realized what's going on in the world. No, they see the same stuff that we see. Like they might be 14, 15 years old. They seen a lot of these videos that are coming out, and, who's to say that more of this stuff didn't happen in the past when, videos wasn't really a thing. Yeah. Which kind of goes into the next point is, I know you mentioned Black Lives Matter, and I do want to comment on this because a lot of the comments I see on social media of people that try to go against it is the all lives matter quote. Yeah. That's the one that kind of upsets me. That's the one that makes me angry, because Black Lives Matter is essentially saying all lives matter, but it's missing one word. Black Lives Matter too. Yeah. That's basically what we're trying to say.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
That is all it is. Dude, my wife shed light on it. She's like, I don't want to say she's militant, because she's not militant, but she's at the point where when individuals come back with a statement like that all lives matter, is the exact same as you bringing up something that you do naturally, like walking. Like, dude, you do that just because you know how to do it, right? We know that all lives matter, but all lives aren't on fire right now, right? So when you have something that you're focused in on because you want to make a change, the only way you can make a change is if you focus in on the details. Correct. And the details is that African Americans are treated differently by the police.
They are,
and and we see it. So we need to show them that Black Lives Matter due to the fact that they're the ones being killed in the streets. All lives, of course, matter. That's a no given.
That was my whole point. That's exactly what we're saying. You're just looking at it and like, oh, well, only Black Lives Matter. We're not saying that.
We didn't say that. We didn't put only Black Lives Matter in front of Black Lives Matter.
Maybe some people are the little minority people.
Throw that only Black Lives Matter. Come on, I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's agreeing with that. And to kind of I don't want to go too far off on it, but giving an example of something that's unusual when it comes to law enforcement. Again, this is not a podcast to bash law enforcement. Again, there's good law enforcement, there's bad law enforcement. Obviously, there's more good. We would like to believe there's more good law enforcement officers than bad, but obviously you focus on what's happening because people that are protecting, that's supposed to protect the community, stuff like this can't be happening. So obviously, there has to be a microscope on them. So just bringing up like a personal situation for me, Arizona. So when I move into when we come into Arizona, I have two situations I want to talk about. So one being, we go to LA, me and my friends, and we're on our way back. Yeah. So on the way back, we get lit up. They flash the lights at us. Boom. They stop us. Cool. All right. Maybe we were speeding. Maybe we weren't. Officer pulls up to the side of the car, and he's like, "Hey, where you guys coming from?" So I tell him, "Hey, we're coming from LA. We had a fraternity event over there. Boom, boom, boom." So he's like, "Okay." So he goes back to his car. Then he comes back and tells the driver to get out. So, and I'm not going to put his name out there, but he asked the driver to get out. So while the driver's out, he's talking to him in the back. Then he comes up while the driver's still back there and starts asking me questions to see if our stories matched.
Sound familiar. And
didn't give us a ticket once the stories matched and let us go. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a search. Like he said he pulled us over for speeding. If you're pulling us over for speeding, give us a ticket. Yeah. And let us go on our way. He was looking for something bigger, obviously. And that's obviously that's one situation. The other one is I'm coming home from a friend's house 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning after, fraternity hot practice. Yeah. And I'm going straight down. For those of you on video, I'm going to try to make you guys visualize it. So I'm going straight. I'm at a stop sign, right? Uh-huh. I'm at a stop sign. On the opposite end that's coming towards me, there's a cop trying to make a left turn. Yeah. So he gets to go first. So he makes a left turn, then he makes a U-turn before I get to go. Uh-huh. Then when I go, he comes behind me and then flashes his lights. So, when he pulls me over, I'm like, what's going on? He's like, "Oh, your tail lights are out." Wow. But how could you see my tail lights if you had already made the decision to make a U-turn to pull me over? Agreed. He didn't have a comment for that. It wasn't even the tail light. It was the light over the license plate. One of them was broken, and he was trying to use that as where are you coming from? He sees the gold boots. It was just those type of situations. Some people don't understand, but I see the bigger. I see what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. I see what they're trying to do.
I have not, of course, had I've had run-ins with the police. Like, for example, every time I see a police, and unfortunately it's been like this since I've been driving. If I see a police officer, I tighten up.
Yes.
Like, hey, like you automatically assume that you did something wrong.
It's a reaction.
It's a reaction because you know the run-in with the cops isn't in your best favor because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
I've had, issues where I've asked the officer several times what, I did wrong for being pulled over and, didn't have a valid reason. In my case, because, and I'm just going to be honest, like, dude, I want to get out of that situation, so I'm willing to just accept whatever it is that they're saying. Oh,
fight it in court.
Dude, I'll fight it in court. Cool. All right, you said I was going 15 miles over speed limit, but I had this I was on cruise control. I got positive, right? So like you start in your head, you're like, man, this ain't right. But you don't want to get caught up in a bad position. And I see people talk back. I've had friends that, they say whatever they want to the cops. Why you pulling me over?
Yeah, I don't do that.
Like, whoa,
I don't want to be in the car with anybody doing that.
Don't do that with me in the car. I've said that several times. I ain't scared, but I'm smart, right?
Yeah.
I put my hands out the window as soon as they come. Like, yo, see my hands.
Roll down all the windows.
Roll down the windows, or my hands on the
hands on the
steering
wheel. Yeah.
Dude, I stopped putting my driver's license, my license, registration, and insurance in the glove compartment because I can't take that chance. Like, it's either right there on the dash, or I got it on my phone now with technology, and I got my phone out the window. Hey, you see this? Come take care of me.
Yeah, shout out to Geico.
Oh yeah, Geico. They take care of you.
If they want to sponsor the podcast, we open to that. No, my wife was doing the same thing. I usually have it in the glove compartment. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "Hey, let's just move it over here to that little sunscreen thing. Yeah. Clip it up there, license, registration. So I ain't moving anywhere he can't see. Yeah. Yeah. But these are actual conversations that we have to have, right? Obviously, people, other races don't have that type of conversation. Maybe they do, but as soon as I was born, my dad was kind of telling me, this is what you have to do in certain situations. That's why, when people drive with me, they're like, "Hey, you're going slow." I'm going the speed limit because I'm not even trying to get pulled over. Yeah. I'm not even trying to have any type of interaction with police, like at all. Like just the least amount as possible. But again, I do think the police officers, again, majority of them are good. Taking care of the community and putting their lives, in danger every night that they suit up. So it's a tough job, man. It's a tough job, but
it's the hardest job. I mean, it's right there with being a pilot, right? Like if we got a pilot, right? If you get on a plane, right?
One mistake,
and you mean to tell me that pilot is drinking or whatever it may be, you're not getting on that plane. Like you're not doing that, right? Those are jobs that require you to be perfect, unfortunately, right? And I know we're not perfect as humans, but you need to strive towards it, and you need to set the expectation. If you're not doing what is expected when you put on them colors, then you're not accepted with us.
Yeah, and
I think it starts with the force, with the community. Like, and I know it's a unity. It's just like a football team, right?
Yeah,
like you're gonna ride for your boy. Right, but being able to be the one to say, you wrong. Like, that's messed up. Like, that's not right. Is what we need more in the force. 'Cause I got a lot of friends, man. I play with guys at ASU that are now in the force, man. Didn't change my perspective of them at all. I know they're good people, and I know they're doing that to help people because it says to protect and serve, and that's the reason why they signed up. So I'm for good cops, and in no way am I bashing all cops. I'm bashing the ones that are killing people in the streets or are discriminating against a group of individuals. Those are the ones that we need to get out of there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those situations where because obviously someone pulled up the numbers, Washington Post was showing the amount of people that were killed by law enforcement last year. Mm-hmm. I believe it was 50 or so that were unarmed that were killed by police. Of that 50, they were saying like 10 to 15 were blacks. Mm-hmm. And people were like, "Oh, well, see, it's even." Well, no. You if you put context behind those numbers and watch those videos, they're egregious. Like, these are bad. Like, having your knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes. Where does he learn that?
Oh yeah.
Are they training? I could guarantee you, if I called a police chief for them, he's saying, "Hey, we're not training them like that."
Dude, I got some stories, right? So they call me Tommy from Martin because I got a lot of jobs. But listen to this. So I worked in the psych field for a while, right? I worked with mental health. We had techniques that they taught us called TCI or CPI, crisis prevention intervention, right? And it's a technique so that you would not put pressure on anywhere that it will stop a person from breathing. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know it go down. Right, you get somebody that's talking a lot of stuff, you may be feeling some type of way. But at the end of the day, you know that you don't want to cause harm to the person that's going to, of course, take their life or damage them severely, right?
Yeah.
So you stay away from their neck. If I was taught that training at a hospital, there's no way you can tell me a person that has a little bit more severe job, a little more dangerous job.
Where they're armed.
Where they're armed
too.
As well. Like I don't have a gun. I don't even have a flashlight.
Yeah.
So it's the real deal, right? They should be able to be trained enough to not do that. So we all know that was.
Oh, we know because, again, they're there to protect and serve. You guarantee that most of the phone calls they get are in a situation where, you know, they need to de-escalate the situation. Mm-hmm. So they should have some type of de-escalation training.
Yeah.
There's nothing de-escalating about putting your knee on somebody's neck or shooting before you even see somebody, you know, face to face.
Yeah.
You know, shooting in the house and you don't know who you're shooting at.
Yeah, you're shook. Something happened that day where you were just a little overwhelmed, emotions were high, and you just, you know, you should not have took that call, right? And those are being aware, like self-reflection. I'm a spiritual man, so being able to self-reflect, right? Observe yourself and your behaviors daily is extremely important so you can be, of course, you know, successful, have a successful outcome.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? And again, just looking at the background of some of these police officers, you know, ex-military, maybe, you know, not to say that all ex-military are trigger happy, but you know, some of them might be. It's just one of those situations where they hold so much responsibility, they have so much on their shoulders to protect the community that they need to go to extreme lengths to make sure that they're putting the right people out there in the community to protect the community. Don't make it for certain communities. Don't make it, you know, rewards based on, hey, you know, you get X amount of arrests, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
you get a little bump. Like, come on.
and it's similar to corporate America if you think about it. Police officers, they're trying to move up by getting big bust. Yeah. So, we'll get parking tickets here, you know, speeding tickets here, but what moves you up is those big bust. Big bust.
Hey, I just came up. I caught a guy with whatever, you know, and now I'm in charge.
And they're looking for that because that's the payday. Yeah. You can't incentivize law enforcement officers on stuff like that. It just needs to be, if they're doing something right, give them a ticket or take them to jail. If they're not doing anything wrong, there's no need to shake them, right? For whatever reason. And I don't want to get into politics with with some of the candidates that came out with, you know, some of the laws in New York with the stop and frisk and everything like that. I mean, you're trying to hit quotas at that point. If you're looking for trouble, you're going to find it.
Yeah, you start looking at that and the 3-strike rule that was put in place back in California. I mean, dude, you can go on and on. It seems like there's an agenda, and those are the things that we need to get pulled out. Like, once again, understanding what is put in place and what's right and what's wrong, and standing up for it.
Yeah, and it's difficult, especially with states now. We live in Arizona where they have it's a stop and identify state. Yeah, they could just pull you over and say, "Let me see ID." Yeah, they don't even need a reason to stop you. They could just stop you for that reason alone, which again is problematic. And it's sad to see that again we, meaning black people, are getting hit the hardest with these things. Again, stop and frisk. They weren't going to white suburbs and you know stopping and frisking all these white people. Nuh-uh. They're doing it in neighborhoods where they know. You know, obviously, any neighborhood, there's something going down. But if you keep going to that same neighborhood, you're going to find something.
You're going to find it. And why not, right? If I continue to look,
you're
going to find something. It's just kind of, and I don't know if that's their approach, but at the end of the day, a lot of people are hurt because you're trying to find something. Yeah. And we're talking about lives here.
Yeah, and it's crazy. But update to the George Floyd situation. I think I've seen it today that the other 3 officers will be charged, which, again, I think it should be a second-degree murder charge for
They did. I believe they bumped it up.
Oh, did they
to
bump it up?
degree, yeah.
It should have been. They're saying that he's currently on suicide watch. Obviously, we don't hope. We hope that doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He needs to answer for his. There's consequences for your actions, and he needs to answer for his actions again for a situation where allegedly George Floyd used a counterfeit 20, and all of a sudden you got 3 cops on you, 2 on your legs, 1 on the back of your neck.
Yeah,
for a $20, a fake 20, allegedly a fake $20 bill.
Yeah, he lost his life for paper.
Yeah.
In no way, no reason should anyone lose their life, regardless of their skin color, for something that's a tangible item, right? That's just not okay, right? So when we're looking at his case and kind of what's going on for the cop that did this to George Floyd, I do believe he deserves the second degree murder, and I'm not going to say that he doesn't need to get mercy or shown grace, because I do believe that people can change, and as he serves his time, right, and he may come to grips with what he did, but he most definitely needs to have consequences for his actions. We all get consequences for our actions, right? We should, and that's the way we learn.
And for some people like me, yes, he needs to have consequences for his actions, but what's more important is to deter other people from taking the same.
Oh yeah.
If you
hit him with the book.
Hit him with the book like you do other black people.
Yeah.
for regular charges, trying to there's minors getting tried as adults.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to push it up. Hit them with the book and see if people it's probably still going to happen, but it's going to deter some people.
Hey,
for sure.
I'm telling you right now, I got a buddy that I grew up with. My man was always in trouble, and when you see this guy go away, you like, hey. Yeah. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. And that's the same way with law enforcement, right? Do you see my guy go down for murdering somebody on TV? They're going to think twice now. Oh, man, they burnt down America, and my man is going to jail for a long time. Let me think about this when I put my knee on the next black man's neck. Or whoever.
Yeah, whoever,
right? Like,
it's a crazy concept. Obviously, again, seeing the consequence of an action will definitely deter. Like if somebody was in a cult and they're like, "Hey, let's jump off this mountain." Mm-hmm. Okay, you go first, and you see him jump off. You're like, "Whoa, I don't know if I want to do that."
Whoa,
I don't know if I want to do that. So, again, having consequences and definitely taking this serious. Again, those other officers might not have had as much as an impact as the knee on the neck, but they were still part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. If I'm riding in the car, right, and you got drugs on you,
yeah,
we all go to jail. So if this cop got his knee on George Floyd's neck, and I stand there and watch it happen, we all going to jail, or we all should go to jail. Same.
If you know of a crime and you don't say anything, you're an accomplice. So I'm glad that they were able to do this. Hopefully they make the right steps, because if they think that this was bad as far as the reaction to the video and their delay in arresting this officer and the rest of the officers, if they get away with it, then this would be like a small reaction compared to what it will be if nothing's done. And I think they understand that. Obviously, you don't want to make decisions based off of that. You want to just make it based off of the book. Everybody should be treated fair. We're not saying, take it easy on black people. If anybody broke the law, go by the book.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter. It should be a blank page. You shouldn't even know what they look like.
That's true. Because wrong is wrong, right is right. Like at the end of the day, somebody pointed out that it wasn't all white cops that were in the deal with George Floyd. It was several different individuals of color, and I'm treating them the exact same. Like, dude, it's wrong. I think it's of course amplified due to the fact that the individual that did it was a Caucasian cop, and we have the history to go along with it, right? There's some history here, right? Yeah. So that amplified things, but murdering someone and not standing up and saying anything is just as wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again, if anybody on the street was to murder somebody, they wouldn't be, walking around, 2-3 days after the fact.
Nah.
They would be arrested as soon as they got contact with the person.
I don't care if you got OJ's lawyer. You
Oh yeah, or,
you might, but
yeah, maybe the glove didn't fit. So I mean, it's crazy to see, and I obviously we hope to see how this thing, or we're going to see how this thing transpires. But yeah, it's been crazy actually seeing this, listening to people discuss it. Seeing the different viewpoints on it, because again, when it comes to situations like this, you have to listen. Obviously, I think I talked to you about it, so I know we don't agree on looting and rioting, obviously. Yeah. But we're not going to say it's wrong, right? We're not going to say, hey, they're wrong for doing that. That's how they feel. Some people, like I said, have hit a point where peaceful protest is out the door. Colin Kaepernick tried that. They switched the narrative, and they're like, okay, well, we'll do something else to get your attention. It's just, we need to make other steps, and obviously people need to actually take action and listen to us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They need to listen.
That's all it is. Open your ears. Active listening, right?
Active listening.
It's crazy because you talked about the way different people react differently when they're angry. I got friends that punch holes in the walls when they pissed off, and I get mad. I take a walk. I get out of the situation. It's just how I cope with my anger. Yeah. Or I may yell, but I'm not gonna punch a hole in the wall. Same case with the whole looting situation. I'm not the one that believes that you should go out there and loot and steal, and I'm against stealing, of course. But I can't say
they're wrong.
They're wrong because it's that extreme, right? We're talking about a lot of lives that have been taken and families ripped apart for so long.
Yeah, for unarmed,
dude, like
black people.
Like worst case, okay, I punch you in your face. Okay, you take a hit, and then y'all 4 people take me down, whatever it may be. I have nothing that can take your life unless I just got major hands, right? Like,
unless you're the Hulk.
Unless I'm the Hulk and I'm really knocking somebody's head off. But dude, like we're talking about unarmed.
So while this guy, while George Floyd's on the ground, knee on the back of the neck, why aren't they just arresting him? Like, why aren't the cops putting the cuffs on and being like, okay, get up? What are they doing for 9 minutes? Like, what were they trying to accomplish?
Dude, I've been in some fights, and 30 minutes is 30 seconds is a long time. Right?
It is.
You talk about
you're gassed.
You're good. You're done. So 9 minutes for an arrest, like you're not in a confrontation or in a tussle for 9 minutes, right? Let alone like he was holding my man down for that long.
Yeah, that's for doing like while he's holding them down. What are they doing? That's the real question. Obviously, I didn't go back to see the other angles where the other cops, they were saying they were on the legs of George Floyd. I didn't see that because I didn't want to keep watching the video. But again, the question comes into, okay, if you were doing that, then what were you trying to get to? What was the end point? It's wrong, but how are you trying to fix the situation rather than
what was
just
the next step?
Yeah, rather than just choke him out.
You're like, well, what was he gonna go to sleep and then you're gonna put him in a car? Like, well, he's already cuffed, right? So he's cuffed. You're out. He's outnumbered.
Or is he cuffed? Was he?
No, he was cuffed.
Oh, he was cuffed.
Yeah, he was cuffed because and I've seen the tail end of it, he was already cuffed. So when they, of course, put him on a stretcher and he's at this time no longer breathing, he was cuffed. So if he's cuffed and he's outnumbered and you're on top of him, like what's next? Like what else do you need to accomplish?
Yeah. I don't get it. Obviously, if he could run away, he'll still have handcuffs on.
He can't outrun you. Yeah. I don't care how fast you are. You got some major wheels.
You need to have your arms pumping to run.
Yeah, it's going to throw off your stride.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered for this situation. Obviously, there's other situations where, black people do just jogging in a neighborhood.
Oh, man, Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey jogging in a neighborhood, and then, you have 2 people that think they're law enforcement officers. One of them is a former, but taking, they're trying to be vigilantes, and getting somebody that wasn't even committing a crime.
Didn't they say they seen him kind of like in a new development area where the houses or something was going up. He was kind of peeking around.
So I watched a lot of the footage, and there's this YouTube channel. It's called Audit the Audit. It's actually a really good channel. I'll leave a link in the description below for you guys. But he has like a 30-minute video kind of going through the whole step, like both sides, like, you know, their background and everything. And they have actual footage of somebody that was black going into a new development home, looking around, you know, potentially, you know, just looking around the house. I've done that as a kid, like
I've
looking.
done that.
Yeah,
like
I've done that. Obviously, some people they again, not in this case. Maybe it was the case, but some people actually look for the tools because those tools are expensive. Like if you take the tools that for housing development. But anyways, this individual, and they don't even know who it is. All they know, he was black. He's going in there probably, you know, once a month checking it out, and I guess one day Ahmaud Arbery was going through, and I don't know if he stopped at the house or if he just like ran by it, but they got to the point already where, hey, that might be the guy, so we need to stop him.
Yeah.
And then obviously the rest is kind of history, but the dude that was recording it also, I believe he got arrested as well. That was running behind him, because everybody's seen the video of where, you know, there's a car behind him recording, and then you see him running, and then there's the truck parked in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I seen that, I was like, they've been harassing him the whole time he was running to just stop, you know, in the middle of the street and have somebody filming behind him already. Like, unless somebody's like has this crazy spider sense of like something's about to go on, let me check.
Yeah.
You know, there was no way that somebody would be recording somebody just running down the street, and then coincidentally there's a car stopped and there's an altercation. So that person got arrested. But again, situations like that, there was a lot of things being covered up. I can't remember what city it was. I know it's in Georgia, but it got to the point where the people who initially had the case had to pass it along, because they had to pass the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and within 24 hours, those guys were arrested. They said they seen enough. The person that was in charge didn't want to like bash the initial like law enforcement that got it initially and said they didn't see anything wrong. But he was saying as soon as we got it, we thought there was enough evidence, you know, within 48 hours to make an arrest.
You know, and what's crazy is, and I think that's important when you have, you know, cases like this, someone from the outside has to, you know, deal with it, or not necessarily, I don't want to say solve it, but they should be a part of it, because when you do have, you know, friends in the force, right? They might look out for your best interest.
It's a certain code.
It's a code.
It's a code.
Dude, so naturally you should always, and I don't know if they have that in place, but they should have an outsider come in and then look by the code, or by the book, right?
Yeah.
It should be dealt by the book, and not based off of if I like you, you know, or not.
And that brings up a difficult, I guess, scenario of, you know, obviously local law enforcement know their local community. If anything happens, are they able to clearly look at it without a biased view, since that's the community they work in general?
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of people putting up plans for change in law enforcement, how things are handled. But obviously, in that type of situation where you know this person's a former officer, you know, they've had relationships with some of the people that are probably still working there. So how could they see it, you know, clearly? They can. But again, it kind of brings in another discussion as far as, you know, if law enforcement officers make a bust in their local area, and that person goes to a local judge, again, you're kind of like
in a circle.
Yeah, it's a circle. Because in some situations, a law enforcement officer, their words hold more weight than the other person.
It's always going to be that way, right?
Yeah.
It's because you're putting them, I don't want to say in a higher place, but you have this expectation as a police officer since you're a little kid, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a little, of course, different depending on your community or your culture, right? What a police officer is and how you view them. But naturally, you expect a police officer to be trustworthy, right? To protect and serve, and to put people before them. So if you operate on that code, then you would expect them to do the right thing but unfortunately, it's been switched up due to the negative police officers that we've seen do these egregious acts.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about police officers, and actually I want to actually go back to George Floyd with the fake $20 bill, allegedly. Obviously, COVID-19 might have something to do with this. A lot of people getting laid off. Economy is kind of collapsing before our eyes, for at least for some people. And then you have people where the government are send one stimulus check that might, for some people, they didn't even get it until like after 2 months of rent.
Yeah.
So again, you have people struggling for a situation that they had no control over. It's not like they were lazy, and some people just had lost their jobs. It's tough times. That might have played a role in it, and obviously the cops should be taking all of this into consideration. Like, okay, hey, you committed a crime, fake $20 bill. Obviously, you still have to, there's consequences for your actions.
Yeah.
But again,
what's going on?
The consequences didn't add up with the actual crime, right? Death for fake money.
Yeah, it's different if we're he's holding up the joint, right? He's holding up the joint. You gotta, of course, make sure everyone's safe. But for an individual that's counterfeit or whatever it may be, like, what if he was feeding his family?
Yeah.
Right. Like he has a 6-year-old daughter. I have a 6-year-old daughter. If I'm struggling, I'm gonna do what I can and kind of put food on the table for her and for my family.
Yeah.
And the police officer would do the exact same thing, because any man that steps up to that position is going to provide for their family. So it's real, right? It's real. He's in a real life situation, and he lost his life over it.
Yeah, and again, we are not going to rehash. Again, we thank all the officers that are doing good for the community. My father-in-law is a police officer in Texas, so
There we go.
Great dude, and we just want to bring awareness, kind of give our take on certain situations. We'll definitely have Pierre back. I know we hitting that hour time limit.
Man, it goes fast.
It went fast, right?
You get to talking about stuff, dude. I got a lot of passion with this, and Charles, you hit it on the head, man. There are police officers that I most definitely have friends, and at the end of the day, I still show respect to their position.
Yeah.
Right. And once again, I show respect to their position, not the behavior of the ones that make a bad name for them. So most definitely hats off to the ones that are out there doing what they signed up for.
Yeah, and again, our kind of like solution is just trying to find solutions as far as what can deter this from happening again. And obviously, we don't have the answers now, but people are putting actions in place and working with local community officials to figure out how we could come up with a solution. And that's all we can ask for right now. But again, for this officer and the rest of the officers, the 4 officers, something needs to be done, and it needs to be swift, and it needs to be decisive for them, as well as the father and son in the Aubrey case. I haven't kept up with the Tatiana Jefferson case with that cop. But again, shooting someone in their house, through a window, I mean, that could happen to anyone.
Man, anybody.
That's crazy. So, no, I appreciate you, Pierre, for coming out.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Let them know if you want them to follow you on Twitter. Get your Twitter.
Oh yeah, man, I'm the worst for social media. But Coach Singfield is going to be my Twitter name. Singfield30. You can find me on Instagram. Most definitely would love to talk more about this. Most definitely see myself being more involved, of course, in the community and trying to push for change. Man, we gotta make a change. All lives do matter.
They do.
For sure agree with that. But if something's on fire, we got to put it out. And right now, Black Lives for sure is that issue.
Definitely. And just to close it out, I know we won't be able to get into too much discussion with this, but all law enforcement officers should have cameras. And if they turn it off for whatever situation, like in the middle of a situation,
come on,
there needs to be a punishment for that.
Oh, yeah.
There needs to be a punishment for that. Because they can control to turn off the sound. They can stop recording. I mean, if it turns off in a situation where somebody's getting killed,
oh yeah,
or something like that, I think in any situation, if it gets turned off for whatever reason,
You pretty much said you're guilty.
you're guilty.
Like, come on.
Other than the battery, going out.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the
And
battery
we should be able
shouldn't
to see that. And we for sure should be. They should be able to check. Okay, the battery went out on them, but man, that's crazy. It should matter. You should for sure have a punishment.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys had a great time listening to this. Again, this is the first episode of Real Talk. Again, Pierre, we'd love to have you back on Real Talk, or maybe on the Down and Distance series we talk about sports.
Oh yeah, know now that's where it all starts. I got most definitely some ideas. So please have me back. Appreciate you guys. Please be safe, man. Praying for you guys and every law enforcement officers out there, kind of serving our state, country, city. However you want to call it, but I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate you guys. Again, be safe out there and stay blessed. One love. Peace.